Welcome back, everyone. So here we have revisiting all 7 wins from the worst team in NBA history, okay? The 2011-2012 Bobcats, okay? Basically the Charlotte Hornets, when Michael Jordan, owned them. And bro, this is crazy, bro. 7 wins. I believe this was during the shortened season, but whatever. 7 wins in the season, bro. This is crazy, man. Like this is one of those seasons where every win just feels like like an NBA Finals win, And bro, this is crazy, yo. And imagine being one of those teams who actually managed to lose to them, like come on, bro. For a team to only have 7 wins, bro, they should have. Nobody should have ever lost to them. But whatever. I hope you guys are doing fine. Let's go ahead and watch this together.
In my last 2 videos, we broke down all 10 losses from the Bulls' legendary 72-10 season, and all 9 losses from the Warriors' historic 73-9 season. So today, I figured we flipped it.
We actually watched those, make sure you go ahead and react to those if you want to. But yeah.
Script by revisiting all 7 wins from the worst team in NBA history, the 2011-12 Charlotte Bobcats. Because let's be honest, ain't no way in hell I'm sitting here going through all 59 of their losses. We clown that Bobcats team all the time for how brutal that season was, but nobody ever talks about the handful of teams that somehow managed to lose to them. And if your squad is one of those teams and you're feeling a little embarrassed, well, maybe they should have played harder 14 years ago to avoid being called out in this video.
Yeah. This is embarrassing, bro.
As we all know, Michael Jordan officially joined the Charlotte Bobcats organization in 2006 as a minority owner and head of basketball operations. 4 years later in 2010, he purchased a majority stake in the franchise, becoming the first former NBA player to ever become a majority owner of an NBA team. And at the time, things actually looked promising. That 2010 Bobcats team was the best version of the franchise up to that point. They finished with their first winning record, made the playoffs for the first time in team history, and even produced the franchise's first All-Star in Gerald Wallace. And on top of that, Charlotte ended the season with the best defensive rating in the entire league. But after getting swept by Dwight Howard and the Orlando Magic in the first round, Michael Jordan wasn't impressed. Instead of building off that success, he chose to tear it all down and start fresh.
But I want to move from the 8th spot up to the top 3 spot.
Within the next year, the core of that playoff roster was completely dismantled. Gerald Wallace, Steven Jackson, Raymond Felton, and Tyson Chandler were all gone. In their place came a new group of players. Corey Maggette arrived in a summer 2011 trade.
Yeah, those guys would have never went 7 and 55, 59.
Steven Jackson. That same offseason, Raymond Felton and Tyson Chandler were all gone. In their place came a new group of players. Corey Maggette arrived in a summer 2011 trade for Steven Jackson. That same offseason, Charlotte drafted Kemba Walker and Bismack Biyombo, while a few leftover pieces from that 2010 team filled out the rest of the roster. Jordan was actually optimistic. He even suggested this group could still compete for a playoff spot, but he had absolutely no idea how wrong he was. The 2011-12 Charlotte Bobcats were the complete opposite of everything Michael Jordan represented as a player. They were
damn, bro. GM skills not there. Is this what Charles Barkley, criticized him for on publicly, and then MJ said, don't ever talk to me again in your life?
Inefficient, non-competitive. He had absolutely no idea how wrong he was. The 2011-12 Charlotte Bobcats were the complete opposite of everything Michael Jordan represented as a player.
Bro,
they were
what?
Inefficient, non-competitive.
What the hell is that, man?
And at times, borderline unwatchable.
Some people say that the Charlotte team of 2011 was one of the worst teams ever in the league.
No, it was.
You think so? You actually think so?
Yes. Lost a lot of games that year. It was rough. It was unbearable for real, especially because I just came off a national championship.
Yeah.
Like I just came off being on the best team in college basketball to the worst team in the NBA. So
they lost 22 games by 20 or more points. They lost 9 games by 30 or more points. They finished dead last in offensive rating, and unsurprisingly also finished with the worst defense in the league. This team wasn't just bad, they were historically awful.
Charlotte this year is I mean, awful beyond words that I can even come up with.
Maybe the worst ever.
They may be the worst basketball team I have, and they have talent, but in terms of piecing it together, they may be the worst team that I have ever.
Yeah, because it's not just talent, really. It's like timing, situation. And also coaching, stuff like that.
Charlotte quickly became the punchline of the NBA, and because of that, losing to them became one of the most embarrassing things that could happen to any team. Because of the lockout, the season didn't begin until Christmas. December 26th marked the first game of the season for both Milwaukee and Charlotte, with former Bobcat Steven Jackson playing against his old team for the first time since being traded for Corey Maggette. Charlotte actually started the game strong, but Milwaukee eventually found their rhythm and controlled much of the first half. Right before halftime, Maggette threw down a flashy one-handed alley-oop that ignited the crowd, but the Bobcats still had work to do. In the second half, Charlotte slowly chipped away. By late in the third quarter, they had taken the lead.
67-66, under 2 to play in the third, and the Bobcats have come all the way back, and listen to the crowd.
They held that advantage for most of the fourth, until Milwaukee briefly reclaimed it late, only for Charlotte to respond one final time, opening the season with a win, believe it or not. Now, Milwaukee didn't even know that it was embarrassing to lose to them yet, because the season had just started. The Bobcats won 96-95. DJ Augustine led the way with 19 points, while Kemba Walker impressed in his NBA debut, scoring 13 off the bench, with Michael Jordan loving what he saw from him. That exact same score showed up again in their next game against the Miami Heat. Unfortunately, this time Charlotte was on the losing end. Still, losing to the defending Eastern Conference champs by 1 point felt encouraging, but that optimism didn't last long. The next 3 games were blowout losses. On January 4th, Charlotte faced the New York Knicks. Kemba Walker made his return to Madison Square Garden, where he helped the UConn Huskies win the Big East tournament in that very building the year before. The game started brutally. Former Bobcat Tyson Chandler scored off of an opening tip alley-oop, but Charlotte didn't fold. They shot the lights out, resulting in the Knicks hearing boos from their crowd.
Knicks have turned it over 16 times. Walker sets and puts up the three and knocks it down. And the Knicks are down by 15, largest lead of the game. Timeout Knicks. Here come the boos.
Charlotte shot 55% from the field, with all 5 of their starters scoring in double figures.
Again, lines down.
Okay.
Brooks seems to go in tonight, and that continues. 27 points for Boris Diaw. Diaw has just been brilliant tonight. One of the best games I've ever seen play.
Henderson, what about him, Mike?
Oh, look at him. Henderson, 10 of 13 from the field. He just hasn't missed.
When the final buzzer sounded, both teams had the same record. One of the teams would go on to make the playoffs, while the other would go on to make history in the worst way possible. After that win against the Knicks, Charlotte dropped 6 straight games. Then came a rare back-to-back-to-back game, probably because they had to quickly make up for lost time due to the lockout. The Warriors were without Stephen Curry, and Kemba Walker made his first career NBA start. Once Charlotte got rolling, the game was never really close. They led by 20 at halftime, scoring 66 points in the first half, and still led by 20 after the third quarter as well. Golden State made a late push.
Robinson takes the three. Single-digit lead. Rush at the top into the paint to McGuire, to the corner to Ellis for 3. And Golden State now is within 7.
But a clutch Kemba Walker and one sealed the deal.
Kemba Walker, Gerald Henderson, Byron Mullins, all at 20 or more.
This is the part of the season where they really started to accumulate losses, as they proceeded to lose 16 straight games. February 17th was Michael Jordan's birthday, and all he wanted was for his team to finally win again. Now, you would think that the Raptors wouldn't be too worried about a team coming in having lost 16 games in a row, until you realize that Toronto had actually lost 4 straight games to the Bobcats going into that night, dating back to the previous season.
You know, we're getting ready for Raptors Bobcats on this very floor tomorrow. 3-26 are the Charlotte Bobcats, but you can't play a team's record because we've seen letdowns before. We've heard Coach Casey say time and time again, can't take anyone lightly.
It was pretty much neck and neck throughout the first 3 quarters, until Charlotte began to create a little separation in the fourth, and were the ones who came up with the bigger plays late. Reggie Williams scored a season-high 22 points, and Michael Jordan got his birthday present, a win, after Charlotte had gone over a month without one. They would
a month without a win. That's crazy, bro. What? Oh my god. I guess it's a good thing they won, you know, on their owner's birthday, but damn, bro. Oh my god.
22 points, And Michael Jordan got his birthday present, a win, after Charlotte had gone over a month without one. They would only go on to lose 5 straight games after that, which is obviously not great, but is certainly better than losing another 16 straight. Going into this March 6th matchup against the Orlando Magic, the Bobcats sat at an abysmal 4-31 record. Charlotte really struggled to start the game, especially Corey Maggette. Then, midway through the second quarter, Bobcats head coach Paul Silas.
What?
The Bobcats sat at an abysmal 4-31 record. Charlotte really struggled to start the game, especially Corey Maggette. Then, midway through the second quarter, Bobcats head coach Paul Silas got ejected from the game after getting upset over a non-foul call, so his son Steven Silas took over. It seemed like they were in store for another blowout, but apparently that ejection seemed to have provided a spark for the Bobcats. This was the score when their head coach got ejected, and this was the score at the half. And they would continue their run in the second half. Maggette turned things around, finishing with 29 points.
3 turnovers for Orlando this quarter, and the Bobcats are in the lead thanks to Corey Maggette. 18 unanswered points. Augustine on the run. Shovel pass, Maggette, lay in. Bobcats are rolling right now. 20-0 run for Charlotte after being down 20.
Charlotte went from being down by as many as 20 in the first half to actually winning by 16.
Bruh.
You, just you, building your app on base 44.
I'm good.
Now I guess you can say that they didn't have to wait too long for their next win. Obviously losing 3 in a row would be a cause for concern for any other team, but for this Bobcats team, it wasn't too bad. This March 12th game featured 2 of the worst teams
Yeah,
in
man,
the
they were so trash, the bar was so low.
combined. Obviously losing 3 in a row would be a cause for concern for any other team, but for this Bobcats team, it wasn't too bad. This March 12th game featured 2 of the worst teams in the league. Combined, they had 15 wins total. Charlotte trailed most of the game, but never by more than double digits. Then came a 22-5 run that spanned from late in the third quarter to midway through the fourth quarter. New Orleans responded with an 11-0 run, and with 5 seconds left, had a chance to tie or win. On the final possession, Trevor Ariza had a wide open lane, but Bismack Biyombo came up with a huge game-saving block as the Bobcats held on for a 73-71 victory, snapping a 3-game losing streak, but of course still had the league's worst record at 6-34. New Orleans, meanwhile, increased their chances even more of landing the top overall pick in the 2012 NBA draft lottery by losing, so maybe Charlotte did themselves a disservice if you really think about it. Shockingly, the Bobcats would only go on to experience a 2-game losing streak before getting their next win. Heading into this March 17th game against the Toronto Raptors, the Bobcats were tied with the 1947-48 Providence Steamrollers for the fewest number of wins in an NBA season at 6. But the Bobcats felt pretty good about getting their 7th win, because they had already beat Toronto earlier in the season and had won 5 in a row against them. Early on, it looked like the Raptors wanted to change that. They came out hot, leading by as many as 15 in the first half, but Charlotte would go on a 16-4 run to open the third quarter to take the lead, and managed to keep that lead for the rest of the way to win for the second time in their past 4 games. After the game, Toronto's head coach Dwayne Casey tried to come up with every excuse in the book as to why they lost to this Bobcats team, because he knew that it wasn't a good look, and honestly, I don't blame him.
You know, not only did we have to stay over last night, got out of our routine, got here late, went through a fire alarm, couldn't get our regular routine before the game. And then our uniforms were late. We barely got our uniforms washed right before the game, so guys were putting their uniforms on wet at the start of the game. So
with that win, Charlotte avoided tying the fewest wins record. All they had to do now was win 1 more game to avoid the worst winning percentage ever, held by the 1972-73 Philadelphia 76ers. They had 23 chances. They lost all 23. Charlotte finished the season on a 23-game losing streak. Ironically, the same number Michael Jordan wore in Chicago. Even when teams rested their stars late in the year, Charlotte still couldn't find a win. Their final game against New York was nationally televised. Everyone knew history was about to be made, and not the good kind.
What's going on in Charlotte? I mean, damn, a case could be made. People need to get their money back. I mean, it's just bad. It's just bad.
57 record and in jeopardy of being the worst team ever.
You know, trying to finish strong, trying not to be the worst team in history.
You went from being a playoff team to kind of
as you said, almost worst team in history.
You see things on ESPN and Sports Center, and people asking questions, like we want to lose. That's not the case. We want to win. And
the Knicks made sure there was no repeat embarrassment. Charlotte got blown out, breaking a 39-year-old record.
Worst winning percentage in NBA history.
Usually Michael Jordan sat at the end of the Bobcats bench, but not this time. He was hiding in his private suite, and when they showed him on the Jumbotron, something happened that had once seemed inconceivable. The crowd started to boo him. Baron Davis couldn't believe what he was hearing. Wait until you hear this. Jordan's Bulls only lost a total of 43 games throughout the duration of their entire second three-peat, while his Bobcats lost 59 games in that 2011-12 season. As a player, Jordan engineered the greatest season ever, but as an executive, he was now the not-so-proud owner of the worst. His image definitely took a temporary hit.
What do we think about when your name comes up? Once upon a time, it was the greatest player who ever played the game. Now there's an asterisk next to that little note because you might be the worst.
The worst GM of all time.
An executive. If you don't turn this around. When did you ever think you would associate the word worse with anything pertaining to Michael Jordan?
I love Michael Jordan.
Love him.
Love him as a guy. Love him as a performer. Greatest performer in any sport ever.
Ever.
Worst NBA GM ever.
If any of the Bobcats players even attempted to talk trash that season, all their opponents had to do was bring up their record for an automatic checkmate. It's very possible that season ultimately resulted in Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley not being friends anymore.
Yeah, I did talk that day. Yeah, exactly what I thought.
Because Barkley criticized Jordan for how he was running the Bobcats.
What's caused the rift between you and Michael?
I think that Michael was upset about some of the things I said about the Bobcats, which, number one, they were true.
And when the Hornets name finally became available again, I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan felt it was the perfect opportunity to wash the bad taste out of everybody's mouth by changing back to the Charlotte Hornets. Even though the 1973 Sixers hold the record for the most losses in an NBA season with 73, and the 1948 Steamrollers hold the record for the fewest wins in a season, the 2011-12 Bobcats are still considered the worst team of all time, due to having the lowest winning percentage for a single season, winning just 7 of 66 games. And
lowest winning percentage ever, and also defensively the worst. I mean, hey, they deserve it. They are the worst team ever.
Of that, they still didn't get the number 1 pick, having to settle for Anthony Davis's Kentucky teammate Michael Kidd-Gilchrist at number 2, which turned out to be a pretty bad pick, considering how many future All-Stars they missed out on. But what do you expect from a man who selected Kwame Brown 1st overall and Adam Morrison 3rd overall in the past? To put this horrendous season into perspective, the following year, it only took 12 games for the Bobcats to get 7 wins. Just wow.
Wow. This, oh my God, bro. NBA history, written in pain. Damn it. Never forgotten, worst team ever. You guys let me know what you think about this in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Oh my God.